Good morning, me old gaming darlings, and happy Saturday to you all. I am, of course, RG88, and I welcome you all to this podcast talk. Now, of course, as per the title of this podcast talk, we are going to be talking about the upcoming under 16 social media ban that's going to be that's happening in the UK. Now, this is a bit of a mixed view topic and a mixed opinion one as well. So, of course, by all means, feel free to engage by dropping a message into the comment section below. And, of course, I will respond to you as soon as possible. But, however, should you be engaging with any of the others during this podcast talk, please be respectful for your opinions or discussions, because, of course, we want to keep this as friendly as possible. Now, of course, this upcoming UK under 16 social media ban is supposedly to be taking place in full effect in early 2027, which of course this means that anybody that is 15 and under, they will have no access to the likes of social media apps like TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and all other social media platforms. That is what's happening, and there's only minor access, but it's only for under 16 access only. Now, of course, in regards to 16 to 17 year olds will, of course, have what is the current access for anybody that's under 16 as of now. But, of course, by the time it's 18, you're 18 years old, you have the full access. Now, of course, there are some pros and cons into this whole discussion through. Now, of course, it can be seen a win in some areas, but of course there is some negatives and some I'd say sort of concerns of the matter, and that's perfectly fine. Everybody has their concerns. I have my concerns, and I think that I'm only having my concerns not just based on a personal opinion, as me personally, but of course, as myself, as a live gaming streamer as well, how is this going to affect? So let's talk about the pros in regards to this social media ban. I personally think with nowadays in technology, people can be very vindictive and malicious. Now, without going into too much details of particular words of describing, I don't want TikTok to sort of strike me for potential wordings that of course they won't like. So of course, in a way, it does protect young people from being bullied or harassed, and of course the potential dangers, it protects young people from those who are potential pedophiles. Now, of course, no, that it's completely categorically wrong for a person to sort of fake and potentially mislead and lure young people into something potentially dangerous, and harm could occur. And of course, nobody really wants that. Of course, it is of course a pro for parents. Parents do not have to stress and worry as much, because knowing that there is something in place that protects the young people from being exposed to something that could be potentially harmful and somebody who could be very misleading. So of course, hey, parents, mums, dads, aunts, uncles, grandparents, whoever, I bet you're all really happy and knowing that the child doesn't have to have a go at you saying that you're being too controlling. I bet that cuts all the blame from you yourselves. I bet it does. So of course there is that. And I think the way that, is it Gen Z, Generation Z, the young people of today, I think in a way that this could help sort of them in a way of not being too distracted by false claims or anything false from social media or anything that could do potential harm from them. And of course, it's a win-win for having something that we don't have to worry too much about, because there's something in place that, of course, social media platforms like TikTok would have to abide through. At the same time, as a pro, for me being a live gaming streamer, It does cut back the worry of having to make sure that whatever game that I'm live streaming, that I don't have to worry about too much of flicking on and off on the restriction content, because of course there is all sorts of different age ratings that of course you will find that it's not exactly the same as what you'd see on the age rating of DVDs or anything, because of how it's number based. You got over 3, so that's basically everyone. I think then the next one goes to 7 and over. And then I think the next one up is 13. Now, of course, those numbers in particular, they're pretty much okay for the under 16s. However, when it comes to the for something like Peggy 16 or Peggy 18, then of course we have to be, as streamers, we have to be really careful, because under the likes of somewhere like on TikTok, if they find something that is deemed inappropriate and we haven't toggled the age restriction for anything that is under 16, you would get a warning to say that they would suspend your live stream for 10 minutes and potential violation, because they feel that what you are exposing or showing your content of your live gaming could be deemed inappropriate. And there's been times where I've had less than 10 minutes of restrictions, and of course it does actually affect your overall performance. So in the same way, I don't have to worry about it so much, because I don't have to be so worried about having to flip on the age restriction. I think the only time I would have to would be the case of if it's an 18 and plus, or anything that is deemed content material for video gaming that is 18 and over. That's the only thing. However, there is a negative towards this. There really, really is. So in the sense of what is the negatives behind this under 16 social media ban in the UK, if any live streamer has any followers that are 15 and under, TikTok or any other social media platforms will not keep that user account activated so that your numbers are safe. Unfortunately, that is not the case. What will happen is anybody that has an account that has their age confirmation as 15 and under, what will happen is that all their accounts will get deactivated. And so therefore you will notice, I think it's going to be more helpful for the massive mainstream live streamers, where they've got like thousands or even the tens of thousands and potentially the millions. And now if any of them were 15 and under from the UK, and this can affect live streamers from around the world. It's not just in the UK, it's worldwide. So if there is a follower that is from the UK and they are 15 and under, their account is going to get deactivated, and of course you will lose that follower. You will lose that follower, and of course your number of followers will be spiked down. A massive drop. If you have a big surplus of followers that are 15 and under, which of course is a negative. And of course, for those who have worked really hard on trying to get in the followers, be careful. I'm just advising you, just be careful that you're going to see this drop of followers. I think looking at how many followers I've got personally, I think I've got about roughly 20 to 25 that are under 16. Or should I say 15 and under. And of course, I'm going to see that bit of a drop. I did work hard for where I've made my gaming content friendly. And of course, there are young followers that, from like 13 and 15. Now, of course, they like the games of like Kingdom Hearts or Animal Crossing. But of course, if they're not allowed to go on social media because of this under 16 social media ban, I'm going to lose them. I'm going to lose them, and of course they'll lose that strike, and everybody else is as well. So do be warned on that matter. Now, the other negative is that as much as social media platforms have to be compliant to what the UK government has to say, the good counteract argument is, and which of course the likes of TikTok will then say, and this was a good question that that somebody locally to me had asked, how on earth is the UK government going to police the whole users to define who is 15 and under this under 16 social media ban? How much of a cost is that going to be on taxpayers' money? It's going to be an absolute waste. It really is going to be an absolute waste of money. Now, I personally believe that there is an alternative way, a really big alternative way to be able to sort of not make it by law, but of course to be able to properly censor the content. Now, social media today, whatever you're live streaming, are clever enough to say, well, if that's what the game you're tagging, we can see what age rating should that game be, and we will limit to those viewers who are under the limit. Then of course you won't be able to view. So say, like, for example, if I'm playing a game and live streaming and it's a PEGI 7, that means any viewers, and I know that sounds really ridiculous, but of course think about this in the long run. Think about in the long run that of course if you have a viewer that is of course 6 and under, they're not going to be able to see it, but anybody from 7 and over will be perfectly fine. That is the better way of doing it. It's not policing, but of course it's greater security from social media platforms, and it's a win-win. It really is. Why are we able to tag video games of what we're playing when they should be able to be clever enough to say, well, if they've got the information to show what the game is, they should be able to find out what the age rating of the game is. So I do think it is categorically wrong for governments to get involved to add these restrictions, because I do think the other worst case scenario is that I do think when governments get involved into stuff like this, and I personally believe this is left-wing government behaviour that's leaning towards communism ideas, that of course that the government is trying to control your freedom of movement or freedom of choice, that of course it's a step mover for them to monitor what you're doing. And which of course is really uncomfortable, because I do think that it is going to be at the point of an invasion of privacy, and that shouldn't be the case. So those are my thoughts on the mixed opinions of the matter. I personally think that the whole UK under 16 social media ban, personally, I don't think it should happen, because I think that there is a more smarter way to censor content, preferably by the fact of what the age rating of that game is. Because come on, let's be real, if the software medias can be able to tag these video games and have the information what the age rating of the game is, then of course it should be able to automatically verify of the age of it is. But of course there is going to be the absolute con of another thing as well. And the other thing that is a bit of an issue, where everybody will, and you will agree with me on this, there is of course these VPN services that people can privatise on their network, or where they'll be able to do in regards to, they can keep it privatised, nobody can monitor them, what they're doing. So of course, if you've got a young person under 16 who are clever enough to make a fake ID and then of course have a VPN service Not that I'm promoting this idea, but think about it. If they're clever enough to misdisguise of who they say or who they are and privatise their network of what they're doing, how is that even going to work? How is this social media ban going to work? It's going to be another waste of time, and of course there will be more restrictions, more this, more that. So I can see this as being another waste of tax money. I really, really do. I really do. The only thing I see this under 16 social media ban as a pro is that it makes things easy to not having to auto-sensitize on, worrying about having to flick on anything like any restrictions. Makes things easier to sort of not getting violated from social media, depending on what video game I'm live streaming, because of it, to cut out that risk. But on a more political and other alternatives, I do think it is a waste of time. Now, to be clear, that this social media ban for under 16s for the UK, it says early 2027. There is no defined date. So there is that potential risk of it either doesn't happen or it gets pushed back, or there's going to be a defined date. So do take this discussion or what is to occur with a pinch of salt, because we don't know what is going to really happen. But I do honestly think that there is a more sensible alternative solution, which is a win-win of it helps us live streamers of being in control of content. At the same time, it's utilising data from social media, from where if they can confirm the age rating of the video games, then of course it should automatically restrict of who is able to see them or do, whilst at the same time it's not a waste of government's money. At the same time as well, parents don't have to worry about what's being restricted, because if they're trying to see something that they're underage, they won't be able to because of that age rating of that game. And that's where it should be. That's where it should be. But of course, by all means, guys, if you have any questions about this whole discussion through, feel free to leave a comment and I'll be more than happy to respond. Because I do think it's a topic that we should be able to get involved and of course have a discussion over. So don't ever be shy. There is no wrong question. The only question that is wrong is the one that you didn't ask, beg my pardon. Because what I'm trying to say is that I want you all to be engaged and be able to, at the same time though, whatever you ask, if you see somebody else that asked a question that is different against of your opinion view, please be respectful and no profanity, please. Because this is a mutual discussion, and I of course would rather for everyone to feel comfortable in this discussion as well. So to give an example, what I've got coming up through to be able to utilise over the social media ban is of course that for any of the content that is 16 and under, by all means, or shall I say 15 and under, then by all means, that's perfectly fine under them games. But which of course, I don't have to worry about flipping the restriction switch, because of course, anybody from 16 and 17 can see them. That's it. It's 16 and 17 viewers that can see them. But however, in regards to it being an 18 and over, I have to switch the restriction on. And this is so that as a game streamer, that I'm being compliant of the rules and I don't make any violations. Nobody wants to. Nobody wants to. It's annoying. It's aggravating. I get that. I really do get that. But of course, I'm sure you guys will understand in the long run as well, because nobody wants to be penalised for any accidental wrongdoing that is completely not their fault. It was just out of innocence that is absolutely wrong. And I tell you for one as an example, and I tell you for one good example. So I was playing Resident Evil 8 Village about 4 or 5 months ago, Now, of course, the age rating of the game itself, I think if I got the visibility of it, yes. So what is the age rating of this? So it is, of course, an 18 plus. Now, that is purely because the gore that's involved in it, even though it's a popular game, there is a mountain of gore and some psychological horror, as well as some foul language on that. But of course, because I accidentally didn't put the age restriction on, what happened was any scenes where they go into like a fight or some sort of particular scene that would be deemed inappropriate, like you see blood or anything, then of course TikTok and other social media brands will flag up with a warning, and they will say, this is deemed inappropriate. We have restricted your view for 10 minutes as it is deemed inappropriate. And of course, they will automatically restrict. They would restrict for giving you a 10-minute suspension, but as well as at the same time, they are, I don't know if they do it in the background, that they automatically change it over to 18 viewers and over. But that's where it is. And of course, I feel bad in the long run that, of course, I didn't put that on. But at the same time, other people will say, well, there's no harm in it. It's just a video game. But yeah, it may be a video game. And it may, and you know, in some cases, oh, you see like an age-restricted film. Yes, it's a film. And it may be based on true story, whichever. It doesn't matter. It's what is deemed as inappropriate, controlled behavior, content, and of course we have to be literally careful. Now, and in the other content of me being able to be compliant with the age restriction, is that of course that I'd like to think that by beginning of July, I've got something set up in the making, but it's not finalised yet. I need to do some more tweaking. But what you'll notice is that before we go into the gameplay, anything that is at the moment, if anything's 16 and under, there's no warning video. Anything that is deemed 16 and over, like 16 to 18 or 18 and over, I would potentially, of course, play a warning video whilst going live before actually starting the game. And it is, of course, it's a warning video that will only be about a minute and a half, but it's just to be in compliant and just say, and it'll be something on the lines of, hey guys, this is RG88. I will be playing, the game that you're about to be watching is based on spiders. Of course, if you have a fear of spiders, I think it's arachnophobia. If you suffer with arachnophobia and you are weak at heart at psychological jump scares, please turn away immediately. Thank you very much. And I'll be making warning videos based on that. And the reason why you probably think, well, why do you want to go into that extra effort of creating a warning video? And to be honest, it's not a strict requirement. That's something asked of me to be able to make it. But it is, of course, something that I feel that as a live game streamer, to take the welfare and responsibility of when doing live streaming content, so that, because I don't want anybody to feel any discomfort or distress of these can be quite a strong content video game. And of course, it will be the case of, I'd like to make sure for the well-being and mental health care of all viewers that they are about to see something that could be quite either, as much as it being entertaining and laughable because it's me doing it, but it may be distressing to others because they either have fears or it's something that's affected them personally in the past, or they're just weak at heart and of course they can't cope with the game. So of course, if I have a warning video, then of course they have that opportunity to sort of just, well, you have that option to walk away to a live stream, but don't watch this if you're not going to be good to be able to watch it. Because of course, at the end of the day, your welfare and mental health is most important, and I don't want you to go through it if you're going to watch. And I think, and I'll even have it all recorded as well, just so that if anything comes up in dispute, I'll say, look, I've actually been compliant, and I've actually got the evidence to say that, you know, what you're about to see may be, may be sensitive for your viewing eyes, or for someone that you may see, someone that's not going to be good at it. Don't watch it. Just don't watch it. And I think in some cases, you see these massive live streamers, they do really well for themselves. But of course, in some cases or topics or genres of these games, I don't think they take them into consideration. And I think they only just do it for the views, because that's all what matters to them, especially on the whole monetization of it all. And I could be like, come across as a bit of a worse. So like, why get all like overprotecting on that? I said, well, no, it's not overprotecting. I like to think of it as being as very thoughtful and caring as a live streamer, because I feel that it's my responsibility. You know, when I do my content, that is what you get from me. And I do hope that, you know, one day when I do become a much bigger follower of a live streamer, that people, of course, will appreciate and understand, you know, the content that I do and the warnings that I give out there. Of course, it's that they appreciate the thoughtfulness and care that goes along into the whole live stream of it. So that's where it all is. So far, nobody has asked any questions yet. So by all means, do not be shy to leave a question. And of course, as I say, I will answer as soon as possible. But just to be clear, on the subject, the whole under 16 social media ban is, of course, it's only affecting viewers from the UK, and if they're following people that are from another country, say like America or Australia, Japan, Poland, whichever, it don't matter. That follow, the viewer or the follower from the UK will not be able to watch because of the fact that they're 15 and under. So of course, be prepared for any streamers around the world or in the UK that they might potentially see a spike of losing followers if they're wondering why their followers are that less. So do
welcome Premier Mo, who is part of the RG88 Superfan.
Premier Mo, so glad you to join in. Thank you so much for being a super fan of RG88. I really do appreciate your patronage and support for the channel. Thank you very much. When does this come into effect? It comes into effect as it stands. It's a bit vague. They say early 2027. That's all they've said. They haven't said what specific date that comes into play. So this could be potentially changed to a later date. Like they push it back to like summer, or they may potentially confirm a date, or it could be not going ahead, because we know that governments like to change rules of not making sure that their stuff that goes ahead. You know the amount of U-turns the current ones are doing. But as it stands, there is nothing that's coming to. There's no specific date that's confirmed to be in effect. It is, as a moment, early 2027. That's all I say. So, and if this under 16 social media ban goes ahead, well, make the most of it, especially up and around Christmas. those are young people like wanting new phones and be able to like say that, oh, because I want to watch YouTube or I want to see videos on TikTok or I want to do this and want to do that on social media, and then realizing that if they're under 16, they can't do that anymore. No, they can't. They really can't unless they know how to get the ins and outs of being able to do so. Then you can see that it's going to be more difficult on them. It really is. Oh, it really is indeed. So that is the run through. So of course, as you can understand, there is of course the pros and cons following from what I said through in regards to this pod of this under 16 social media ban. I understand the pros, especially in what I personally feel as a live game streamer, but I understand the negatives. I understand the negatives as to, is it going to be a waste of time? Is this not a gateway of the government trying to control people, what they're doing? So it's like a restriction of freedom of choice. Really don't know. We really don't know. But of course, when you try to poke the question of asking how is it going to work, it's really much a vague response, or they don't answer your question. So nobody really knows how much of an effect this is going to be. We really don't know. Really don't know. So I'm not too worried about it personally. I think it fuels me to be more a responsible live game streamer. At the same time, it's to be able to grow for the channel, it's going to be more difficult. It is going to be more difficult. Especially for those who potentially could lose the followers. It's going to be harder to try and get the numbers back. But I'm hoping where there is a will, there is a way of being able to cover the followers that we all lose for other people that do follow back another way. So guys, feel free to ask a question. I'm more than happy to take another question by all means. And as I say, there is no wrong or stupid questions or anything. Please be respectful. But of course, the only thing that that is stupid or wrong is a question that doesn't get asked. So do feel free to ask and join in. It's a very casual and relaxed community that I like to build within the channel. It's good that you take responsibility, and this also should be controlled by parents for you. Be controlled by parents. Yeah, so in most ways, it is very much in favour of parents that, they don't get blamed by their children why they can't do the social media apping. In some ways, it's more... but I do think parents should still be, in control and be able to take the child's, the young person's responsibility or the child's responsibility of what they should see and what they should do. I do think that. But I think it's been in recent decades that parents, unfortunately, have been too relaxed. And the only thing is that you see the likes of people that think that it's okay for a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old to be playing Grand Theft Auto, and we all know what Grand Theft Auto relates to, what sort of content that brings out in the video game, and a lot of it, it's actually all of it that is deemed inappropriate for that child, and yet of course it's enticing them to be in a gang or do robbery. It's no good. It really is no good on that one. And what I find it disrespectful, and why we're seeing the problems as of now, because some people may see wrong content. So let me go for a story, for example. When I was live streaming Poppy Playtime chapter 5 about a couple of months ago. And of course, the game itself is 16 and over. 16 and over. It's not 18, but it's 16 and over. So it's that bit in the middle. But of course, I had a user that commented me saying, "Oh, my child likes, No, my son really loves Poppy Playtime, loves all their games." I went, "All right." I said that in a joking way, "Oh, are they not scared then?" She went, I went, "No, he's only 10 and he still likes it." I thought, okay, now this is where my problem is. Now, the child is 10 years old and the parents think that it's okay for them to play a 16 and over game. Now, the problem is with Poppy Playtime is that it's a lot of psychological horror. There isn't too much gore, but there is a lot of psychological horror and jump scares that could potentially cause distress and nightmares, to the point that this can mentally affect them, because it could be the case that some games that they cause so much stress on the young person that without realising that's enticed them to be suicidal or to be really fragile and scared. And of course, my argument is that why does the parent think it's okay to expose their child or the young person into such content like that, and it's highly inappropriate, and it gives that sort of care, and then of course it fuels the parent to say, well, games are too violent these days. Well, if they're not too violent, why are you not restricting your child from inappropriate content? What's up with you lot? Honestly, the contradictory of it all, it's absolute farce. So, of course, parents should be blamed. And, of course, if the parents think it's okay to be able to show such inappropriate content for a child to be playing a game that is way above their age limit, prosecute the parents, prosecute whoever's looking after that child, prosecute them. Because, of course, at the same time, why should game developers be getting the negative feedback of this game is too violent? Why should live streamers be penalised by users who are under the age limit and think that their parent and think that it's okay to watch it, and yet the parents get aggressive and obviously attack the wrong people? It's not fair. It's an awkward unfairness, because why should we get the slack or blame? It's not our fault that you as the parent think it's okay to allow your child or the young person to be watching content that is over their age limit. It's absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. So I do think parents are to be blamed. Whoever's looking after that young person, their carer or whoever of their family members, whichever, they should be blamed. They really honestly should be blamed. They really should honestly be blamed, because it's not fair on the live streamer or the game developers, only because they're too arrogant to discipline their child or to make them be stronger on them, to say you shouldn't be watching that, you shouldn't be playing that, because it's not in your age limit. And I honestly do think that it's got to be an awkward balance of this. And of course, in some cases, this whole underage restriction takes that sort of that parental control away from the parents, thinking, oh, you don't have to worry about doing that with your child, because of course we're doing that for you. But why? It should be the parent's responsibility still to make sure that their child, make sure that they don't see anything that's age restricted. Because of course, what is that point that their child is then going to be that clever enough to go through via VPN to then make a false account that makes them look like that they're 16 and over, and then it's going to be corruptly exposing. And of course, it ain't fair. It ain't fair at all. But I'm hoping that if that is the case, that the young person is then creates a fake account via VPN networking, then I hope it's going to be structurally in place that, of course, if the government finds that the child is wrong in doing that, then of course whoever's looking after that young person, whoever is responsible of that young person or child, that the person responsible or the couple, family responsible, whichever, then of course they get prosecuted and be penalised for, I think that is under the borderlines of child cruelty or child abuse. Before the child becomes an adult, or in their eyes, a 16 over, anybody that's 15 of under, that family should be prosecuted. To think that is perfectly okay for that child to work their way around it. And I know I've gone completely left to right and right to left over the subject, because of course, whilst some people think that content, that restriction is a good idea, but there's a lot of flaws. There is a lot of flaws. And of course, I could see this being potentially a hell of a lot of waste of money if a lot of money was spent to create this law. I could also see this as being, broken easily. I could see this law being broken easily if it's not been well thought, and I don't think it has. Because I find it strange that, it's been announced, but there's no thorough dates into it. I really do think it's really strange. But we shall see. We shall see as time goes. We shall see. So, of course, we are going to call it off from here, me old gaming darlings, only because there's been hardly any comments through, and I'm sort of running off with what else to say, really. So I do want to give a special shout out to, of course, Premier Mo for taking the time with the commenting. I really do appreciate that, Premier Mo. And of course, thanks again for being a super fan of RG88. Really do appreciate your patronage of supporting the channel. So of course, Suze, I can see you've been watching through. Hello to you. I hope you and the family are all keeping well. Thank you so much for joining in. And of course, for those who did stick around and watch for a few minutes and took the time, thank you so much for hearing out and enjoy listening on this discussion. I really do thank you all from the bottom of my heart. So of course, if you did miss this podcast talk, you can watch this rerun through of the live recording.
Thank you very much, Suze, for the 1 rose.
Thank you so much, Suze, for the 1 rose gift. I really do appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. So, of course, if you did miss this podcast talk, then, of course, you can rewatch it again for when this gets uploaded onto YouTube. And, of course, you'll be able to watch this through available, I think, it will be sometime next week. This becomes available. So, of course, keep your eyes peeled to make sure you do follow and subscribe on YouTube. And of course, on TikTok as well. When a video gets uploaded or when we go live again, then of course you'll be notified for when anything new content comes about. So of course, I thank you everyone for your time, and of course, as I always say, take care of yourselves and each other. Love to you all. Take care, everyone, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the weekend. We'll be next live for tonight at 7 o'clock, where we'll be continue playing of Kingdom Hearts 2.5, and then of course there is no live streaming at all. Of course, not just for the fact it's being Sunday, but of course it is Father's Day tomorrow. So of course, if you're busy for tomorrow, I hope you enjoy Father's Day with your fathers, and of course, happy Father's Day to all the dads for tomorrow. So of course, take care, everyone. All the best. Ta-da!